A heartfelt story about grief that is Bambi meets the Rite of Spring segment of Fantasia. What makes The Land Before Time special and nostalgic for those that grew up with it? Hello, my name is Em, and I am currently on a journey with my husband where I am watching all of the Don Bluth movies in chronological order and ranking them on a tier list. But I like to provide some history and historical context before we get into our thoughts, just to add a little bit of fun and to create some understanding of what these movies are. The Land Before Time was released on November 18th, 1988, which is the same day that Oliver and Company, which was by Disney, was released into theaters. So they were directly competing with each other. Keep this in mind because this will kind of continue to happen. This has kind of been happening since An American Tail, but now it's like kind of ramping up. The film stars Pat Hingle as the narrator and Rooter, Helen Shaver as Littlefoot's mother, Gabriel Damon, who actually played Spot in the Newsies movie. So like the original Disney movie, not the Broadway Pro Shop, as Littlefoot, Candace Hudson as Sarah, Burke Burns as Daddy Tops. And I'm not saying, that's his actual name, credited name that I could find. Judith Barcy as Ducky, Will Ryan, who had played Mole, Willie the Giant, and Pete in Mickey's Christmas Carol, and Digit in An American Tail as Petrie, who you will hear me lovingly refer to in our thoughts as Petri Dish. While working on An American Tail, Steven Spielberg and Don Bluth began to discuss what project they should work on next. They wanted to do a concept like Bambi, but with dinosaurs. George Lucas was interested in the project, and being a longtime friend to Steven Spielberg, he was brought on to executive produce alongside him. The writers for An American Tail, Jodie Freudberg and Tony Geiss, who are best known for their work on Sesame Street, were brought on again for The Land Before Time. But their draft did not feel mature enough and too childish for a family-friendly audience, so Stu Krieger was brought in to revise their draft. In early development, the story was to be about a group of young dinosaurs searching for an older, wiser dinosaur. I kind of feel like this would have been a little too much maybe too cliche for me, but also I feel like it would have been a little too similar to kind of like the beginning of Secret of NIMH when she was searching for the owl, or even just like her search for Nicodemus. I feel like that'd just be a little too similar to the Secret of NIMH. But that's just my opinion. And later into development, it was decided that the dinosaurs should not get along due to being different species, and kind of basically like a dinosaur racism is what they said. They were like, yeah, they shouldn't get along just due to dinosaur prejudice and racism. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that was a theme in the movie, and I felt it. Sarah was a little big fat racist at the beginning. Dinosaur racist, I guess. I don't know, that might be a loaded word. I might say speciesist instead. Yeah, Sarah was a little speciesist. Because I feel like racism is too much of a loaded word, especially when we're talking about dinosaurs. But speciesist and prejudice. The working title, before it was changed to The Land Before Time, was The Land Before Time Began. I feel like that's kind of redundant. So I'm kind of glad they changed it. There originally was planned to be no dialogue in the movie, similar to Fantasia's Rite of Spring sequence, but this was changed as it was believed that having dialogue would appeal more to a younger audience. Before production began, the team did extensive research and went to several museums across the country, like the Smithsonian and several others. Skeletons, fossils, and art were consulted, as well as live-action footage of modern animals that walk on four legs, including elephants and giraffes. I think it was more than elephants and giraffes, but I think they kind of helped to facilitate, because we can't see what dinosaurs actually walked like, and so seeing these species that walk on four legs that have evolved, it just makes sense. Production was delayed at the start due to the company moving to Ireland. This was after An American Tail, and some of the production staff were in Ireland, and so they wanted to move production. Don Bluth specifically wanted to move production to Ireland because he thought it would be easier, but Steven Spielberg didn't like that because An American Tail needed to be produced in America, in his opinion, and I agree. But I'm glad that they decided to move it back to Ireland after this, because there were some issues with production in American Tail and the Ireland parts. So I'm glad that they chose to move to Ireland. And so production would officially begin in spring of 1987. At a screening in London, Steven Spielberg told Don Bluth that he felt that some of the scenes were too scary for younger children. So late in production, 19 fully animated shots of the Sharptooth were edited out of the film. And I felt like the Sharptooth sequences were a little bit scary, but I don't feel like they were anything significantly, like, I probably, if I was a younger child, I might have gotten scared of the Sharptooth. There's some moments, like, specifically when I was watching, there's the moment where, like, spoilers, the Sharptooth looks like he's dead, and then he opens his eye, and I was like, whoa, no, I specifically had a verbal reaction to that. That was kind of crazy. But, yeah, so I felt that it was a little spooky, but I feel like it could have been a lot scarier, and so I'm glad that Steven Spielberg said that. Steven Spielberg also did this with a sequence in An American Tail. There was supposed to be a longer wave sequence during Fievel's time at sea, but that didn't happen. Rumored to be weeks before the film's release, more disturbing footage was cut, leading the runtime to be anywhere from 80 to 82 minutes to just 62 minutes. This included some more peril scenes and extended introduction for Spike and some of the green food sequence. Petrie's almost death was also originally going to be longer. I am glad that they cut some of Petrie's original death, because I feel like that was already long. I'm sorry, you'll hear this in our thoughts. I did not enjoy Petrie much as a character. And normally, normally I can see why people like these characters and they kind of slowly grow on me. They didn't as a kid. I kind of found them annoying. But like now, I feel like as an adult, if they serve a purpose, they can grow on me. And, like, if they're not too annoying, they can grow on me. I think the ones that I have on my list of did not grow on me are Gurgi from The Black Cauldron and Petrie. But you can hear more about my thoughts on Petrie in our thoughts. The final act was also rearranged and edited, as Littlefoot was supposed to find the Great Valley on his own, turn back to save his friends, kill Sharptooth, and then guide his friends to the Great Valley. This ending can actually be found in certain books, and even the score for the scene can be found on the soundtrack. Some of these cut scenes still exist in promotional material and animation cells that can be found on the internet. The music was composed by James Horner, who also composed An American Tail, and was performed by the London Symphony Orchestra and the choir of King's College. The Land Before Time opened as the #1 movie in the United States and Canada, grossing $21 million when adjusted for inflation in its opening weekend, which is the biggest opening for an animated film at a time. I can't remember if that's the opening weekend or the opening week, but it was the biggest opening for an animated film at the time. That is like because grossing does not account for inflation. So I have my opinions. You know my opinions on how they don't inflate grossings to and include re-releases to say whether or not it was the biggest animated movie. But, whatever. I have my opinions about non-adjusted for inflation highest grossing movie. But that's my opinions. Overall, it grossed $134 million when adjusted for inflation in the United States and Canada, being beaten by Oliver and Company, who kind of won out on that game. So although it was very successful initially, it got outgrossed by Oliver and Company that year. And it made $236 million worldwide when adjusted for inflation. The Land Before Time got mixed reviews, with it being compared to the golden age of Disney, and of course, like Bambi and the Rite of Spring sequences obviously were kind of inspirations. And yeah, I agree. I think it does have some golden age of Disney elements in it, and so I think it should be praised for that. Criticisms were that the dialogue was not as complex as the previous Don Bluth movies, and that it was only enjoyable to younger viewers. I disagree. I think the themes about grief are very age ascending, and I'm kind of shocked and surprised that not a lot of the critics talked about the emotional depth and the themes of grief that are present in this film. I don't know. I have opinions about adults who review family media in general, especially at this time. I just feel like family media, and even nowadays still, it's like this. We're kind of in this weird middle section where, like, it's kind of still considered art, but, like, is it? And I feel like it's kind of mirroring modern family media right now, where we're kind of in a slow slump. And due to this, people aren't seeing it as much as an art form. And so when they're going to review it, they aren't seeing it as an art form. And they're just seeing it as something to, get the cash grab from families. And I severely disagree with that statement, because this movie has a very, very grounded and beautiful take on grief. And my husband and I talk about it more in our thoughts. But I do love this movie and how it deals with grief and the concept of grief. And I will agree, like, it's not my favorite animated movie of all time. I think I feel a little bit like an outsider because I didn't grow up with it. But I definitely think that it's a good movie. I think that for me, I always kind of go into these movies with an open mind and seeing what is there. And so I feel like in some ways, sometimes I see a little bit more good than these critics do. Yeah, I know that this movie especially did a lot better on home video releases than it did in theaters. So I think that a lot of people, that's where they found it. That is actually, in this era, that is the case with some movies. I feel like that was also the case with The Secret of NIMH as well. Where home video releases, once you can own it at home or rent it from a store, you can find these little hidden gems. And that's kind of what makes me sad about the death of physical media. I mean, it's still there, actually. Now is the greatest time to build your collection, because DVDs and Blu-rays are not as expensive as they once were, and they're plentiful at thrift stores and things like that. And support your local libraries and look at their DVD collection. But yeah, so I think this did really well in home video releases. I mean, it's a dinosaur kid's dream, is anything with dinosaurs. But I really love the themes of this movie. Now to get into the meat and potatoes that I think you all have been waiting for. There are 13 direct-to-video sequels for The Land Before Time. each with no involvement from Don Bluth, Steven Spielberg, or George Lucas. So I think it was all with the studio that produced, that released The Land Before Time. So it was distributed by Universal. So I'm guessing that the other sequels are also distributed by Universal. And so there are 13 Land Before Time sequels. I have chosen not to cover them in this series at this time. Maybe in the future, but I am doing a very long Disney series where I am doing every single animated Disney movie, and I'm not just doing the ones released by Disney. Disney proper. I'm also doing like all of the direct-to-DVD sequels, which a lot of people do one or the other. I'm a crazy person, and I've chosen to do that. And so yeah. For now, I might cover the direct-to-video sequels for all the Don Bluth films, even though he has no involvement in any of the direct-to-video sequels, other than Bartok the Magnificent. Don't know why that is. But anyway, so that's the plan for now, but I probably will cover it in the future. I can't do a lot of sequels because I'm doing a very long Disney series right now, and I kind of just want a very short secondary series for now. I'll come back to it. We'll circle back. Do not worry. But to continue, there was also a TV show that was released from 2007 to 2008. It lasted 2 seasons. Yeah, so that's all I have on The Land Before Time. So if you want to hear my husband and I's thoughts, stick around.
So we just finished The Land Before Time, and I have a lot of thoughts. I like this movie. I thought it was good. It almost made me cry. It was awful. Not awful in the sense that it's a bad movie, just awful in the fact that it almost made me cry. Like,
she was so sad. I actually heard her cry out. She's like, no.
It was awful. I'm not going to spoil it. Feel free to spoil it. I don't know if you want to spoil it in the comments. But
in the comments is a different thing.
There was a scene at the beginning that made me very, very sad. And ironically, there's some things in this that are very similar to Lion King in that way.
Like, when you pointed that out, I started to see that more and more. Mm-hmm. But this came before Lion King, so you can't really say it was inspired by it.
No, exactly.
If anything, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, but
there are definitely some similarities. Did Don Bluth work on Lion King?
I don't think
definitely not as a director.
Well, I don't think so, because he had his own studio at the time. Why would he still...
Yeah, but didn't he leave his studio for a short bit?
I don't know, honey.
Because it kind of sounded like he was like a foot in at Disney and a foot out of Disney.
No, by this time, he's definitely a foot out.
Yeah.
He's not working at Disney at this point. Honey, do not doubt me. I'm the one who has done my research.
I'm not doubting you. Who said I was doubting you?
I feel like this movie... its messages about grief are so profound. Mm-hmm. As somebody, like, I've lost a grandparent. We've both lost a grandparent. And so we kind of understand a little bit of that grief and losing, someone close. And, I don't know, our other living grandparents are getting up there. I mean, I have 2 grandparents right now that are kind of nearing the end of their lives, and it's just it's kind of hard to experience that. And so just like the message of grief in this movie is really, really profound. I would definitely show this to our kids if they're struggling with grief in any way, or just to introduce the concept of grief.
That's what I was gonna say, is I feel like I would even be okay showing this before something like that. Like, I think it handles that topic really well.
It's a really great And, like, I haven't mentioned this before, but you can tell Don Bluth's religion from this. Because in the Latter-day Saint faith, they believe in eternal families, which means that you will see your family again once you die. And I feel like this touches on that, and just like that they'll always be with you kind of vibe.
I would even argue even just beyond that, that's not really even a Latter-day Saint specific thing.
Yeah.
Like, that is, I say Christian, but that's because that's what I'm most familiar with. I am not going to say for other faiths, but I'm sure there are other faiths that believe similar. I'm sure even, like, spiritualist people probably feel the same. Of just, like, the idea of, like, the soul not being destroyed when a person dies. The soul carrying on whatever that means for that person.
I don't know the religions of Gary Goldman and John Pomeroy.
Yeah.
But I knew that Don Bluth is...
Well, this is a Christian ideal, is what I would say.
So,
like, this is not a specific Latter-day Saint idea.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be okay to say.
And then Steven Spielberg, who executive produces this, is Jewish. I don't know if the Jewish faith has any... okay. Yeah.
I will interject and say my knowledge is not exactly up to date and current with real Jewish belief. So I am going to make that separation and say, if you want to know, ask a Jew, read the Talmud, read the Torah, read the other books and stuff of their literature. But from what I understand and the way I have learned about it, is they believe in a spirit place that souls go to. So, like, it's that same idea that the soul still exists, that they do have that type of belief that the soul continues to live even after a person passes.
And I don't know George Lucas's religion either. He also executive produced this. But I think no matter if you are religious or not, the idea that your family can spiritually stay with you and be with you, like, I think it's such an awful idea that when we die, we're dead and there's nothing. Yeah. And our families, like our ancestors, the people that we care about who have passed on, can't help us in life. Yeah. Can't be there for us in life. I think that's just such a sad thought to have in your theology.
Well, I just also think this movie doesn't really pull the punch on that idea. Is even like I said, let's just go complete full, which this movie doesn't. But let's just pretend it goes full atheistic. The soul is not a thing. The body dies, it decomposes, and that's it. The memories of that person and the presence of that person can still carry beyond their physical body. It makes me think of the leaf that he ends up getting, right? That being meaningful to Littlefoot, of the person who passed away, that he can then have that with him as a reminder.
Well, even when the leaf gets crushed, she shows up Mufasa style.
Yeah.
In the mist, whatever. Yeah. To kind of prove, even though you've lost the leaf, I'm not gone. I'm still here. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just like it's just, I don't know how all of those families got to the end. I mean, you could see it as an allegory for death. I could see, there's probably a video essay out there where the, what is it, the Great Valley? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Great Valley.
The Great Valley is some form of afterlife. Because why is everybody's family there, but his mom's not there? So that is a very good point, because his mom's not there.
Well, but I would say even if that's not the intended meaning, I could see you be able to draw a parallel. It makes me think of, like, fighting I guess I'll just say, because it's not really a secret, it's in the first few minutes. Fighting the antagonist of the Sharptooth. You could kind of see the struggle with him as being kind of symbolic of the struggle for life and survival, which is very literal in their case, because that's the whole point of him as an antagonist. He is a creature there to kill them and eat whatever is left. And so you could kind of see their defeat of him as kind of symbolic of overcoming survival. And then, now that they've overcome survival, they can now thrive in a place of joy and a place of comfort. So I could see kind of that, like, you could kind of, like, squint your eyes a little bit and see that symbolism for life and for death. I don't think that's what's intended, but I think you could definitely pull that idea from it.
Yeah. Could definitely be, like, a 2010 BuzzFeed article.
Yeah.
Or one of those deep Reddit fan theories. I don't know.
Reddit fan theory. They're actually all dead. They died in the earthquake. And it's actually them wandering in the wilderness so that they can find heaven.
Yeah, and it's actually them in purgatory.
Yes.
And because why is everybody's family at the end in the Great Valley? But let's not forget that his mom's not in the Great Valley, guys.
Yes.
It is a family movie. It is okay that not everybody's family died. It's okay. It's okay. You know?
Like, I think that's reading too much into it.
It's reasonable because after the trauma you already went through, it's okay for everybody's family. It's okay to have a happy ending because this movie is really, really traumatic. Because on top of, you know, we've already talked about it enough. Let's stop pussyfooting around it. After Littlefoot's mom dies.
Okay, I was like, I wasn't sure if you wanted to say. I was like, that's your call.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm okay with it being spoiled.
Because it's in like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
So that's just like, I don't have a problem with it. It's in the
first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And this movie is older than our oldest siblings. Like, it's okay. We can spoil this movie.
You're right. And
this movie is about, let me count on my fingers, almost 40 years old. We can spoil this movie.
You're right. I'm not denying you that. I'm just saying I understand because it's kind of like the Bambi situation.
Where everybody knows about it.
Well, everyone knows about it, but I feel like if everyone didn't know about it because of how much it's been talked about, I feel like it's more impactful if you don't know that walking into
the thing is, I didn't know, and it was very impactful.
Exactly. Or it makes me think of like Fox and the Hound with Todd's mom. It's so much more impactful going into it not knowing that.
We just spoiled Fox and the Hound. I'm so sorry.
It's in like the first 2 minutes. I don't think it's that bad. Yeah. But I feel like that's kind of what I'm getting at, is those scenes are more impactful if you do not know about them.
I still think it's impactful. The performances are incredible. Just
You're right.
All of those things. And
in all three of those films, yeah.
I think that Fantasia, the Rite of Spring sequence from Fantasia with the dinosaurs might have been an influence, and I feel like you can kind of see it just aesthetically in this movie a little bit, especially with the background art, because I know both of them are traditionally animated, but like I think you can see it a little bit, you know, you can see that.
I admittedly don't know the specifics of the Don Bluth company. That'd be more of a question for you and your like longer analysis, but whoever's doing the background art has been cooking in every single movie. Secret of Nim has been that way. American Tail has been that way.
Yes.
You know, this movie is the same way. Yeah. Like, I feel like every Don Bluth movie, it's just like there's some one background artist or something like that who like is like a grizzled veteran or something of animation and is like, you know what? Yeah. Let's go all out in this scene that's only going to be seen for 3 seconds in the film.
Well, there's like this pan shot, like once it's morning after they go to sleep, and it's like this dew, and it's so pretty. Oh my gosh. It's like this dew and like this tree, and like, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Like I even said while we were watching it, oh my gosh, it's like a Bambi shot.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And it's just like... What else was I going to talk about? I had two points that I wanted to say. Oh, Petri dish. I started calling him Petri Dish throughout the movie.
You didn't like Sarah either.
I didn't like Sarah. That was another point I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me talk about Petri Dish first. I'm going to lovingly refer to him as Petri Dish because I was like, what's his name? And you were like, Petri. And I'm like, okay, so I did hear that right. I hate it. And, like, I'm so sorry that whole, I don't fly. It's so contrived. So annoying. And he just comes in, and I'm just like...
You just don't like the acting for that character.
Maybe, maybe not. I think I just don't like that style of character.
No.
Some of them have grown on me, like Bartok has.
That's what I was gonna... Okay,
like,
that's who I was gonna put. I was gonna say, he's not that different from Bartok.
But Bartok has grown on me, though, and that's the thing. But, like, I think by the end of the movie, maybe this guy grew a little on me. But I'm like, maybe a second rewatch, I'd feel more okay. This watch, I was like,
I will say, this is one thing that I do like about the movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say something that I liked, and then I'm going to say something I didn't really like about the movie. Mm-hmm. I really liked that the movie feels like a trail movie where all of the characters are contributing something. Even if it's really small, there's not really a character who just exists to exist. Mm-hmm. Each of the characters are contributing something even as small as possible. And so it kind of makes it feel almost realistic, like a trek or a journey where everyone has something to help the group succeed. At least that's one part I did like. Mm-hmm. One thing I didn't like, however, and I know that it's because this is not the nature of the movie, this may just be something that is me personal, and so I can't really count it against the movie. But I feel that the antagonist was very weak. I feel like Sharptooth was very, very weak, but I get it. His role as an antagonist is not meant to be a philosophical or a what's the other term? A philosophical or symbolic antagonist. Well, okay, you could see symbolism in him, but what I mean is, like, they're not really having a competing philosophy other than the idea of one is a carnivore and one is an herbivore, which is barely a philosophy. Like, we're being real dang generous here. I understand that is kind of the point, because he's meant to be a T-Rex, and he's meant to be scary, and he's not meant to be a character you can learn the thinking of. Mm-hmm. That's just not my type of antagonist. I don't really care much for antagonists like that, so I don't really count that against the movie, but that is something that I don't like as much compared to, like, other types of movies we've seen.
I could see that. My other thing, I did not like Sarah that much. I feel like in some ways she got better, I feel like I liked her by the end a little bit more than Petri Dish because she learned her lesson.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the point. I think that was the point. But she was a brat. And here's the thing. I don't think that much, like, I don't hate kid characters for being kids much. But I was like, Sarah, you're being a brat. Another thing, can we talk about the names? Littlefoot, Ducky, Spike, and Sarah!
I mean, you're right. I'm not going to deny you're right. And not only that, but Sarah feels weird because Sarah's a biblical name. And so it feels kind of, at least that's the origins of the word. And so it is like all of the characters and all of the species, they're kind of named in a Watership Down type of way where they're described and that is their name. The Stompies, the Trihorns, etc. Be instead of, Triceratops or Stegosaurus or whatnot. And so that was something that kind of crossed my mind, is how out of place Sarah's name is. Granted, you could see some of the other names kind of similar. They're a little bit out of place. But I feel like there could have been maybe even 3 more minutes put into a name for Sarah. Because that's a very fair point.
Yeah. But I feel like Sarah got her comeuppance, so it's okay. She learned her lesson. But she was annoying. And Triceratops is my favorite dinosaur. So I was a little mad because I was like, honey, you are disparaging the Triceratops name. What's your favorite dinosaur?
I like the plesiosaur.
Is that the one with like the like big old ball on its tail?
No, that's what the Loch Ness Monster is.
Oh, the one that in Jurassic Park where they're like do. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh.
They have like a long-ish neck. It's not that long of a neck compared to others, but it is a longer neck. And
Are they the one that...
And instead of having feet and hands, they have fins.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking of at all. Never mind.
Nope.
Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to say is that both Ducky and Sarah are the quintessential youngest children. And the funny thing is you can be both on any given day. I can say that as a youngest child.
That is another fair point, is they are very realistic in thinking as children. Like, I know they're actors, but it almost feels like the actors are actually doing the thinking for the characters, if that makes sense.
I agree. I just think, like, I've talked about how some writers know how to write kids, because we've talked about it before with, like, Robin Hood and with, like, Bambi. This is another one.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
I would say so. That's a pretty good depiction of Christopher. Like, Christopher Robin's a pretty accurate kid. Yeah.
But, like, this one also goes down in that way. Like, these kids feel so much like kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's something I wanted to say. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to interject for your ranking. But, like, I'm okay with an A or B for this one.
I'm okay with an A.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely okay with an A. I was like,
it's good. It's definitely worth it. Like I said, for me, it's just a flavor thing. I don't like this type of antagonist, but it's not against the movie. It's me. It's not you, it's me. I have to go see other movies.
I'm not a dinosaur movie person.
Yeah.
So, for that reason, I think it gets put underneath American Tail, but that's not to say that I did not.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it.
Okay. I'm even just interjecting here with, like, how I would maybe alter the story. Again, good movie. I'm not saying that I could do better. I can't. I ain't gonna pretend that I can. But if I was altering the movie, I think I could make Sharptooth's domain be like a skeleton graveyard kind of area.
You're describing Scar.
Well, no. That's not what I was thinking. But
he lives in the elephant graveyard.
No, doesn't he live in the Outlands or something?
No, honey. Doesn't he? No.
I think it is the Outlands or something like that he lives in. I don't think it's the elephant graveyard. But I was thinking, not even like to that extent, like the elephant graveyard, but I was thinking of him being very stereotypical, how T-Rexes get depicted as being almost like a Grim Reaper of sorts in a lot of dinosaur media. And he does get that a little bit here, but I feel like if that was leaned into, you could then kind of push that symbolism of life and death and the such, of them kind of defeating Sharptooth being almost more symbolic of conquering death and overcoming that grief that comes with a loved one passing away. That'd be the only thing I'd really alter for the movie. I think it is really good elsewise.
I agree. Yeah, I actually could see that working a lot. I don't know, like, I think that we do kind of see glimpses of that. The other thing is, oh my gosh, this movie is just kind of traumatic. Like, I swear these characters, like, in almost every scene are just, like, almost fetching die, like, 10 times
It's
in
a
this.
Trek movie. They die, like, almost 8 times across
You
the
died
journey.
of dysentery.
Yeah.
But yeah. Is there anything else you have to say?
I have nothing else to say. Yup.
I was wondering what you were gonna do. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Every little tiny bit of support means the world to me. So, yeah. You want to say anything else to the people?
Nope. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye-bye.
Bye.